Sure. Hi, I'm Nirman Dave, and I am a second-year student at Hampshire College. I love computer science and I love behavioral economics, and I also love entrepreneurship and the idea of like making things happen and bringing people together. That's something I really love to do. Um, there are a lot of factors that worked um, that brought me to Hampshire. First one was Lee Spector. He's an amazing professor, and he's a professor in artificial intelligence. And I was talking to him before I came to Hampshire, and he was just fantastic, and I loved his work in genetic programming, and that's something that drew me to Hampshire. Last year I took all of his classes, all of his courses, and I was absolutely thrilled by what he had to teach. The second factor is David Kelly, who was a math professor here. And because he was a math professor here, he did a summer program for high school kids. And one of my high school teacher back in India told me about it. So I was like, hey, it's a good place to check out David Kelly and meet him and talk to him about his work. So that brought me to Hampshire. And the third reason that I truly love to just talk about to everyone, I talk about it with all my friends, is the fact that Hampshire has no exams.
You were telling me before the interview that you just had an exam today at one of your other 5 college courses. Do you want to tell me anything about the 5 colleges aspect of your experience
Absolutely.
here?
I think 5 college aspect is a very interesting aspect, and it's the most challenging aspect I've ever found. There are some topics in your education that require you to get a very structured education, right? So let's say computer science. Computer science is a broad topic, and you want to be as creative as you can to like make something that you love. But at some level, if you want to make something you love, you need to know programming, and to know programming, you have to have a structured education. So I think at any point in time when you want a very structured education, 5 college is the best place to go to. Second is you get the resources there. You get to talk to professors you wouldn't talk to otherwise. They guide you in a fashion that you would never get a guidance from anyone. And I think there are very, very strong professors out there. I'd like to talk about one of this thing that happened to me at my Amherst course once. So I was given an assignment. It was a computer science assignment. I had to run a code, right? So I said, hey, let's do it. I completed the program. I go to my professor and submit the code. And the next day he tells me that your code works for like 50% of the time, but the next 50% of the time it doesn't work. So I'm going to give you a 60 on 100. And I'm like, shit. So he was like, all right, but the challenge is if you, by tonight, figure out what the problem is, solve it, and give it to me. And it was just like 6 hours to go. This was before 6 hours from midnight, so about 6 p.m. in the evening. He's like, if you can do it, I'll give you a complete 100. And I'm like, shit. So I start figuring out what the code is, where I'm going wrong. I try to figure out what the problem is, but I can't find anything. So about 10 o'clock at night, just 2 hours before midnight, I decide to completely rewrite the assignment I wrote, which took me actually a week to write. And now I'm rewriting it in 2 hours. And then I submit it. And the next day morning, I'm there before he arrives in his office. And he tells me, and then he looks at the code, and he tells me, there's still one problem. I'm like, shit. He says, all right, you have 5 minutes now. If you find the problem, if you solve it, I'll give you a full 100. And I'm like, shit. And in that 5 minutes, I somehow find the problem. I just go through every line, and I figure out the problem, and I solve it. And he totally ignores the fact that the problem ever existed, and it gets me 100. Now, what's very exciting about that process is not the fact that I ended up getting a good grade, but the fact that when I walked out of his office after that morning meeting, I had a sense of accomplishment. I had a sense of like success that I felt at a very lower level. It's just an assignment, right? It's nothing huge, but I loved it. I loved the idea that I was challenged at every single step of what I was doing, and that's something that I absolutely loved. So I think 5 colleges also give you a great challenge, and it's totally worth embracing.
Do you remember the name of the professor and the course?
So the course was Data Structures and Algorithms 2, and the professor was Professor James Glenn. And the course was at Amherst College. Yep.
And I believe one of the other people I'm going to be interviewing is David Pearl, who won HAMPAC?
Yes, so David's pretty interesting because he was a student studying Syrian refugee crisis. And one of the biggest things he was studying was giving first aid to people over there. And he wanted to make something on that note. So he came to Hampack and he built a product named Ali that allows people to get first aid within just 1 or 2 minutes of just like pressing a button on the phone. And it gives you 6 steps for anyone who has no clue about first aid to help someone who's in trouble. So he made that app. And after Hampack, he won Hampack. And he also won a prize called the Incubation Center Prize. So he got an incubation space in Springfield at an incubation center named TechSpring. And he worked there, he made the app. He also applied for seed fund. He also got the seed fund money. And now he's actually just taking his idea into action and he's taking it forward. So he kind of got the escape velocity that a platform like Hampack was very much intended for.
Mm-hmm. To move back a little bit, you mentioned your company, Circus Tricks?
Yeah.
Can you tell me, in your words, what Circus Tricks does?
So imagine if you roll out a piece of paper, take out a pencil and draw out something, and you make it real. Right? And that's kind of what Circuit Tricks exactly does. So what we do is we make circuits using pencils. So if you want to light up a bulb, all you have to do is just roll out a piece of paper, put a battery block, put a light block, and take out a pencil and connect a pencil line, and it lights up. And what we did was we created a DIY kit with that. So, and it was intended for kids. So any kid who wanted to like draw out their own circuit can make it without using complex wires and like complex electrical soldering irons and stuff like that. So all they have to do is just take out a pencil, draw out a line, and boom, you have your circuit. So if you want to make a guitar, let's say, you don't need strings for that. You literally can just take out a pencil, draw out a bunch of lines, and bam, you have your working guitar. So all of these like very simple ideas that kids can use the simple things around them and make something phenomenal out of that. That's what Circuit Tricks was about. And it was the DIY kit that we made. And then we ended up working with Intel, and we got it to 10,000 students across India. And it was pretty fantastic.
One of the things that a lot of people talk about as a strong aspect of Hampshire's academics and the fact that we don't have grades is that when you attempt to do something, mm-hmm. Even if you fail, it doesn't, tank your grades.
Right.
You don't have, you're not punished for trying to do something ambitious that doesn't
right.
pan out. Can you talk at all about how that plays into that?
Absolutely. I think there have been many aspects where I've been told that this is a pretty ambitious thing, right? It was Hampack where someone told me that. There's also a class that I took where I was told that, oh my God, this is ambitious, right? And the professor wasn't sure if I could do it. But what's very interesting about that is that when you're sure you can do something, at that point in time, you don't have to worry about the grades, right? When you want to make something huge happen, you don't have to worry about the grades and be like, oh my God, do I have these definitions clear and stuff? You just go out and do what you like to do, right? And you make it happen. And I think that's very interesting, because when you don't have to worry about something so conventional, right? You can think about ideas that are truly interdisciplinary and different. And I think that's how the grades have played in a role in my life. I've never had to worry about all the conventional definitions. When I know a subject, when I learn something in the course, the only thing that I'm constantly thinking is all right, oh my God, how can I connect it with the tree I see outside? Or how can I connect it with my parents? And how do I connect it with the world outside from this classroom? That's the only thing I think of, and I think that's a very powerful perspective that I've gained.
Is there anything about the program or the school that you think needs to change or that you hope to see improve soon?
Absolutely, there are a lot of things. I think there are things like we need to focus more on developing like stronger methods of business and development. So while we have really good classes who focus on making your own business, I think we should also have really good classes that focus on developing strategies for those business. And I slowly see that coming as well, because I remember seeing Brett Golan's strategy for innovation class, and I think we should have something more like that that can allow people to develop more business strategies. in terms of entrepreneurship, this is what I want to see as a change.